Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Field House right here on ontexasfootball. I'm Blake Munroe, where I'm joined each and every week by Gerry Hamilton, Coach Tim Buchanan, Bob Shipley, and Carl Padilla. And Carl, just like we do every week, I'm going to kick it over to you and let you tell everyone what storylines you're paying attention to and any interesting stats you have from last weekend.
You bet. I think we'll start with everybody pray for Spring and Valley View, not for any bad reason, but the fact that neither one scored a point this year. So it's always good when you're playing your sixth game of the season to actually get on the scoreboard. I mean, they have 0 points, not even a safety. So good luck to both those teams this week. I did some numbers on UIL games last week. And, of course, last week is the fewest games of any week during the regular season because of all the buys. And so if you ever wanted to have a mercy rule in 11-man football in Texas, basically 12% of the games last week were 50-point wins or greater.
Wow.
So there's a lot of talk with that. And so and actually the worst percentage was 6A with 14.42% of the games being decided by 50 points or more. So there was 13 shutouts in 6A, 10 in 5A, 7 in 4A, 13 in 3A, and 12 in 2A. When you look at 100-point games, this probably will shock you. There was 500-point games in 6A, and there was only 500-point games in the rest of the four conferences put together.
Wow.
In 6A, there was 19 one-score games, in 5A, 17, and 4A, 20. In 3A 9 and in 2A 7. And that may be 2A had 17 out of their 32 districts off last week. 4A had 12. So that's a heavy week going that way. All 15 6A games were one-score games. The average difference was 5 points. Every game in 14 6A was a shutout. The average score was 48.5 to 0. In 10 2A Division II, 3 of the 4 games were shutouts. The average score was 49.5 to 3.5. Some scores of note: Franklin beat Montwood 84 to 49. Klein Forest beat Tomball Memorial 67 to 61. Tomball Memorial scored 123 points in their last 2 games. Basically 1,400 yards of offense in their 0-2 in those 2 games. And they're both district games, too.
That's got to be a record, by the way, in big school. That has to be a record.
Yeah. Cy Springs did something that maybe Bridgeland's never had happen to them again. That Bridgeland was up 48 to 21 in the fourth quarter and wound up losing 49 to 48. Dayton beat Nederland 61-59 in 4 overtimes. And if you see the deciding points on that game, you'll shake your head. So I think the film clearly shows that the kid was down and then he lateraled the ball to the kid who wound up going a long ways for the deciding 2-point interception. Couple of defensive games. I'm sure Coach Buck would love these. South Hills beat Northside 7-6. Marshall beat Mount Pleasant 7-3.
Wow.
And then we go back to a couple of more crazy scoring games. Victoria West beat Kerrville Tybee 59-56. And then Dehanis, we're going to play on Saturday night every week. We're home. Beat Somerset Academy 66-50. I convinced La Villa and Santa Maria before the season to play each other a second time this year. They had originally been scheduled to play week 1, which they did. La Villa won that game, and then they played again last week, and La Villa won again. So they actually went 2-0 against Santa Maria this year.
That's awesome.
And that's the report, Blake.
Well, thank you, Carl.
Well, Santa Maria probably appreciates you getting them whipped twice.
Hey, I was going to mention Texas OU this week. There's some great games in DFW tonight. A lot of ranked teams play tonight. Like North Crowley's playing Lake Ridge tonight. By the way, guys, I was at North Crowley for athletic period. I used to say this about Duncanville, that they had 30 to 35 Division I players, freshman through senior class, every time I rolled through there. That's where North Crowley's at right now. For those that don't know, their freshman and sophomore classes are out of this world with talent. And apparently their 8th grade class is better than all those, which is going to be scary. But North Crowley is ridiculously talented. South Lake, #1 team, in action tonight. Byron Nelson and Keller. Byron Nelson ranked at somewhere is going tonight. And Denton Geyer is also in is playing tonight. So if you're in the DFW area, if you listen to, and you're in the DFW area, Argyle also playing Seguin tonight. There's some really good Thursday night games, obviously, before the Friday night games. But North Crowley, guys, I mean, Coach Buck, I know it's close to where you used to coach, but North Crowley is ridiculously talented right now. Like, ridiculously talented.
They really are. Now, of course, there's a reason why they call it the 817.
Yeah.
That's a big attendance zone over there.
Yes.
And they've always had good athletes. I know back when they opened North Crowley back in 1998, they had tremendous athletes then.
Yeah.
And Ray has done an unbelievable job at getting those kids to play at a high level, really high level.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an intense athletic period workout I was at. And that's one of the little things I look for when I hit the road. But yeah, Ray Gates did a great job. And man, they got a bunch of guys you'll be watching on Sundays in these younger classes. They're really talented.
Gerry, you mentioned Texas OU, obviously, one of the bigger storylines in football in the state. But let's talk rivalries as far as high school goes. What are some of y'all's favorite rivalries and why?
Coach Shipley, go. What's your favorite rivalry? Abilene, Cooper. Where are we at?
Yeah, no. This is a little more personal to me. The largest rivalry game that I've been a part of in the high school is Brownwood and Stephenville.
Yeah,
and it's as intense as they get. I would think. I mean, Burnett and Marble Falls was pretty intense back in the 70s and early 80s. They had somebody. We had some knucklehead had a vet that was bearing a horse, and he cut the head off the horse and painted it green, which was our colors, and put it up the Marble Falls Mustangs flagpole. Wow. So they had a dead horse head hanging from their flagpole. Then they came and got poison spray and sprayed MF all on our field for Marble Falls. And of course, you didn't know it until a day or two later when it's game day, and you've got MF all over your nice green field that we spent so much time and money on. But anyway, the games were they were always fun, but there's nothing like what I've been through, Stephenville and Brownwood. If it's in Stephenville, if you're from Brownwood, you fill up your tanks. In Stephenville, you don't spend one in Brownwood. You don't spend one dime in Stephenville. And you don't talk to anybody from Stephenville. And Stephenville does the same thing. They do not spend a dime in Brownwood when they're coming to play at Gordon Wood Stadium. And so that's a fun rivalry. It's actually one long before I went to coach there. When I was a young coach, I was 28 or 9 years old. I was a young coach at ACU, and I was scouting, and I wouldn't watch Brownwood and Stephenville, and it was of course that was Art Browse, and then you get Art Browse and Steve Freeman, who Coach Buck and I both know, went to school with for a little while. Those are two pretty intense coaches, and anyway, it was fun. It was fun to watch, and I think Stephenville probably got the best of Brownwood during the past couple of decades. But anyway, so it's as good as fun a rivalries I've ever been around.
I don't know how anybody beats dead horse head on a flagpole, but somebody needs to go for that. That's not me.
I'm gonna tell you what Bob talking about Stephenville and Brownwood, and when Alito moved up into 4A, that's who they went into the district with Stephenville and Brownwood. And the unique thing about that one, if you played the sound on the video, that's what back when we exchanged VHS tapes, and it had sound on it. If it was in Brownwood, you heard cowbells continually and then if it's in Stephenville, you know what you heard, the ball bearings inside Freon drums, and it was those two guys that when those two played, it might have been the loudest high school games in the history of Texas high school football, next to the old PNG fans. When those screaming Indians started hitting those, playing those tom-toms, that was another loud one. But one of my favorites, of course, going back to years and years ago, back when they were really both top football programs, was Colleen and Temple. The Colleen Temple game was an unbelievable football game years and years ago. I don't know that it's where it used to be. It's there now, but at one time that really was a top football game that you wanted to go see.
Carl, what you got? I know you know the history of rivalries, right? What's the longest rivalry in the state of Texas? Do you know that?
I don't know offhand. I know New Braunfels Seguin is probably up there. Mine's a personal favorite because my dad played in it. And it's, of course, gone the way of the dinosaur. They haven't played it since 2009 because Fox Tech became a magnet school. And if you know my dad, he'd always say, I went to Tech High School because it wasn't Fox until 1951. So the last game drew 16,000. Obviously, in the press box, the only thing they served is chili. They had 21,000 in the Alamo Dome when they played an early season game back in 1994. They started playing this game in 1942, so my dad played in it from 47 to 49. In 2005, get that, 1942 to 2005 was the first time that game decided the district champion. So that's something else. If you want to know how attended that game was, probably the other 9 games that Fox Tech and Lanier played didn't equal the attendance of the game they played each other.
Gerry, what about yours?
Yeah, so growing up, my dad obviously my dad coached at Nacogdoches for a while, and so I really grew up as a boy in the East Texas football, and Lufkin Longview for me, and going through there when they've had some of their really great players. The Lufkin Longview may not be on the rivalry list. Like if the Dave Campbell's listed their top rivalries, it's probably in the others receiving votes. But that game, from my standpoint, sitting in East Texas in Longview, in that game, that seemed to be as physical of a high school football game as I've been to for about a 7-8 year period. That was a big one for me. I'll tell you the other one. You guys know that I went to Friendswood High School, and it ain't Friendswood. Lamarck Galveston Ball. When Alan Waddell was at Lamarck, Nick Vorse was at Ball. I mean, Casey Hampton, all those guys, Lamarck had some unbelievable teams. And then you threw Texas City, and they kind of round robin and played each other there. But those games probably had the most security of any high school game I've ever been to. But the Lamarck Galveston Ball games at that period of time, it was just the physicality games that really did it for me. Yes, the fans. And I've never been to Brownwood, Stephenville. I probably need to do that. I've never been to that game for whatever reason, and it sounds unbelievable. Lamarck and Galveston Ball, the ones that stuck out that were so physical and so intense from the field, and then obviously in the stands that you felt the intensity as well. But really, those super physical high school football games, those rivalry games. I mean, when you're talking about Ball and Lamarck, I mean, it's right across the bay from each other. Texas City right there as well. Those games carried over. Those football games carried over to every sport. That's the one thing I remember. It carried over to basketball because we played all those teams at Friendswood in basketball. It carried over to the competition on the track because they were all right there together. But those Ball, Lamarck, and then you threw Texas City in for those years when Rusty Dowling was at Texas City and they were all winning state or competing for state. Unbelievable rivalry games because the jawing went from sport to sport to sport and then from town to town there and went from the island to Lamarck and to Texas City. But the games I remember for me, for whatever reason, were the super, super physical Friday night rivalry games.
By the way, I looked it up. The longest continuous high school football rivalry in Texas is widely considered to be the Battle of the Axe between Sherman and Denison, which dates back to 1901.
Wow.
So 124
Tremendous.
years in the making.
So Blake, what Comanche game is your favorite?
Well, Comanche's rivalry used to be DeLeon, but DeLeon dropped down to 2A, Comanche 3A, and I don't even remember the last time they played, but kind of, not so much a animal head on a flagpole, but there was definitely lots of salt in the football fields and all kinds of shenanigans back and forth because they're only about 15 minutes apart. So I would say Comanche actually doesn't have a real rivalry at the moment just because they haven't played the real rival in quite at least a decade or more, I'd say.
So I want people that watch this to learn a little bit. So Coach Buck, where'd you play in high school? Who was your high school rival?
I played at Colleen High, the Kangaroos, and Temple was
You lived at Temple Colleen. You lived at Colleen.
Oh,
Temple.
yeah. I mean, it was – heck, I met a girl one day, and this was when I was at ACU. Scott McCall, a Temple boy, introduces me to her, and her mother did not want her to go out with me because I was from Colleen. I mean,
sorry,
that's how deep it ran. I mean, Temple Colleen was we hated each other, literally hated each other, and it did the same thing. It carried over into basketball and track and everything else.
I can tell you what those Temple boys are being told from the 9th grade, coming over that hill as you're coming into Colleen. What's that first one?
It's Nolanville.
Nolanville
Hill.
Where everybody that's anybody's got a ticket in Nolanville. But you come down over that and you see those lights all down there in Colleen and Copper Cove. And we had an old coach named George Johnson. Great man, a great mentor of mine. He was close to retirement year. Strong Baptist. And he'd say, Coach, you see that down there? That's a modern Sodom. That's a modern day Sodom and Gomorrah down there. And I mean, and all those kids started believing that. I mean, everything was Colleen. Everything they talked about was Colleen. It's just, it's just high school football rivalry at its best. I remember that when I was a second-year coach driving on a 9th grade bus going to play Colleen.
Heck, the first time I didn't know what a bus getting rocked meant until the 7th grade. And we went to go play in Temple at Bonham Junior High. And we win, and we get on the bus, and they said, put your windows up. They're going to rock the bus. I'm sitting there going to rock the bus. I thought the coaches are yelling this. I thought he meant they were going to try to turn it over. And all of a sudden, rock started busting windows.
Oh, no.
And, I mean, and that was common. Now, I'm pretty sure if Temple came to Colleen, same thing happened. But the buses got rocked. I mean, it was as bad as you could get in a.
And Matt,
I mean, it went, like I said, it went Pee Wee football, boys club football. I mean, it was the same thing all the way up until Colleen opened new schools, and next thing you know, Colleen and Colleen Ellison are the big rivalry. Yeah, and Temple kind of moved on away from us, and it went Temple Bryant.
Well, I tell you what, that wasn't even the toughest middle school in Temple.
No,
you had that was the doctors and Scott and White and BA families that lived right to that. Just go over to Travis.
Yeah,
Bob, you didn't say what your favorite high school rivalry was or where you went to school.
Yeah, it's definitely Burnett and Marble Falls.
Yeah,
definitely Burnett and Marble Falls. Neither one of us were that good at the time. They only took one team to the playoffs. They had a little success. We had a little success in the early mid 70s, and then in the 80s, Marble Falls started having success, and then Burnett kind of got it rolling with the Wishbone back with Ed Abernathy in the late 80s, early 90s. Played for the state championship in 91, and then we came in and installed kind of a spread offense and played for the state championship in 22 and 23. And I've never lost to Marble Falls. I've tied them. My senior year, we tied them. And there was no overtime, no nothing. and that still sticks in my craw to this day. It's a 13-13 tie.
That's right. Well, I went to Churchill in San Antonio, and our big rival back then was Lee. There was never an empty seat in any of those games. The really fun part about it was the success of the two teams in that period. From 69 to 78, 2 state champions, 1 state finalist, 4 semifinalists, and 2 quarterfinalists. So that was 9 out of the 10 years. Another thing that was really unique when I talked to people, even back in that period, the students all sat on the same side. And so they had a dividing line at the 50, and the parents all sat on the same side. So, nowadays you have the home team on the home side and the visiting team on the visiting side. Back then it wasn't like that. So never witnessed a fight or anything ugly. It was all left on the field, and it was a great game every year.
Carl, Colleen and Temple both built their new stadiums really because of that rivalry game. And the unique thing about them, talking about both sides, if Temple if they were playing in Colleen, both bands were on the visitor side. Colleen put their band right behind the Temple bench. And then if we played in Temple, it was the same thing. Temple band was right behind the Colleen High bench. And you talk about, and even students would sit on the visitor side in Colleen. They because you could do whatever you wanted to when it was your stadium. You put them wherever you wanted to. And it was some really, really good stuff back then.
That was Ross Rogers, Bob McQueen days.
Yeah. Gene Rogers. Yeah, Gene.
Yeah,
Gene
yeah,
and
Gene.
Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'll say this, Bob McQueen got the better of us in the late 70s, and it took years before Colleen ever beat. When Colleen split high schools, it took them a long time before they could play with the Temples and the Bryans.
Well, let's wrap up some rivalry talk, Bob. I know you got a story that you want to share. Let's hear it.
Yeah, well, this is certainly Texas OU related. 2013, I was an analyst on the staff. I was working with the defense, and I was in the press box and just keeping stats on reps and player personnel, all that kind of stuff. So Major Applewhite was the offensive coordinator. And so when you come out of the press box at the Cotton Bowl, it's not like they've got a high fenced alley for you to get, because you've got to go through the State Park crowd to get to the dressing room at the south end of the Cotton Bowl. And so we had a couple of cops in front of us, a couple of cops behind us. There's a row of about 8 or 10 of us in the press box, and we're just kind of almost doing a military shuffle, just trying to get back, because obviously in college, the halftime show is not nearly as long as it is in high school, and so we didn't have a whole lot of time. So we kind of start getting spread out, and we're getting people spitting on us and throwing stuff on us. And I look up and I see this redneck woman with the sleeves cut off of her shirt, tattooed up with her husband. And I see her, she had a drink in her hand. She had a highball in her hand. And I saw her, she recognized Major Applewhite. He was right in front of me. And her arm went back, and I know, oh, crap, here it comes. And she threw it right in his face. Right in his face. And you talking about as a football coach, Buck, you talking about a guy sticking a foot in the ground? I'm telling you, he stuck a foot in the ground, and he was going after that couple. And, of course, we grabbed him and say, no, man, we got a game to win. We went on and won that game, a game we shouldn't have won. But I thought we were going to may all be going to the pokey by the time that was over with, because, man, Applewhite was pissed. Had that liquor all over his face. He goes in and meet with his quarterback, smelling like he's been in a happy hour. But it's a crazy rivalry, and it's one I'm really looking forward to watching. And it truly is. I think more so than high school games. In high school games, usually the best team is going to win unless they're just really, really tight, and very, very a level playing field. But in college, for some reason, at the Texas OU game, it just seems like you can throw out. I don't know. Matthew pulled up the stats earlier this week on like the last 20 years, and it hadn't been pretty. I mean, we haven't won back-to-back games since 08 and 09.
Yeah.
So it's Texas didn't have any business beating them. That was Mac's final year at the University of Texas, and so you never know what's going to happen in that game, but it's awful fun to go play a Friday night game. We beat Southlake when I was at Coppell in double overtime, and then the next morning got to go to the Texas OU game and watch Jordan run that kickoff back for a touchdown. That was a pretty good week for the Shipleys.
That's good stuff. All right, guys. Well, as we do every week, we'll wrap up with this. Any games that y'all are paying attention to this week? Coach Buck, we'll start with you.
I'm gonna jump in front of Bob because I know he's out there in the big country. It's the Coopers, Lubbock Cooper and Abilene Cooper. They've turned into kind of a rivalry out there, and I think that's going to be a really good game. It should be a good one to watch.
Bob?
Yeah, well, he went first for a reason because that was going to be my pick too. But I think Eaton and South Lake Carroll is going to be a fun game. There's just something about that. I mean, South Lake is a little bit like the Longhorns. In my mind, I'm a fan of Carroll because I think their head coach is a good man. I've known him since he was a kid, Riley Dodge. But it just seems like they have a hard time making it all the way through the season, even with teams that you think they're blowing through in the preseason. They're going to win the state championship, but they're one of those teams. I don't know, Buck, do you agree? Do they tend to stub their toes sometimes as they get into bigger games?
They've made some mistakes in playoff games that one year they fumbled a snap. All they got to do is kneel on it and they fumble a snap. So, yeah. But, hey, I'm going to tell you, I talked to Hal Wasson, who was the head coach at South Lake, who won their last state championship. Talked to him this past week, and Chase, his son, still goes up and watches practice. He and Riley played together at South Lake, and they said this is the best South Lake team they've ever seen.
Wow.
He said better than the teams that they had back in they won state with. He said Chase said this team might beat them by 30. Said it's the best offensive line, best skilled kids, the best they've ever been around. So, hopefully they won't stub their toe this year. Riley's, like you said, Riley's a great kid. I'd love to see him, get in there and win one.
Carl, what you got?
I'm going with Slayton and Littlefield. And Slayton's 5-1, lost the post in overtime. Littlefield's 6-0. They're both in district with Idalou, which, believe it or not, is only 3-3. But they have played some hellacious teams. So between the three of them, they're going to decide who wins that district, finishes second and third. So the winner of this game will have a nice leg up on, the district championship. And one thing for you. The last time Stephenville and Brownwood didn't play, and I don't know the answer to that, but I bring it up because Brownwood most likely is dropping to 4A Division II next year.
Wow.
Interesting.
By the way, have you seen Brownwood's new indoor facility?
I have not, but I've seen a Brownwood-Stephenville game in Brownwood.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. Have you seen it, Bob? Is it nice?
Yeah, they got a nice, big, full-size indoor. It's a student activity center, of course, is what they call it. Doesn't say anywhere on it.
That's a good word for it.
Oh, man. And they're doing some renovations to Gordon Wood. I don't know if they're done with those, but last time I was over there, they were.
Yeah, they're putting in a really nice press box.
Well, there you go. Good deal.
The thing that surprised me is that Brownwood didn't fill in all those places where Stephenville hung their flags, above the top of the stands, so that there wouldn't be any Stephenville flags when they played at Brownwood.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Fieldhouse. Thank you all for tuning in. Of course, we'll be back same time, same place next week. So for Coach Buck, Bob, Carl, and Jerry, who had to drop, I'm Blake Munroe, and we'll see you then.